Hi everyone. About 5 days ago, I finally finished Herman Melville's Moby Dick after slowly reading it over a couple months. I'm not 100% sure if this is the absolute best book I've ever read, but it was certainly the most mind-blowing. And I'm convinced that one should not be intimidated by its reputation for being disjointed, packed with literary references, and being rich in symbolism and interpretation. The enjoyment of the characters, simple but suspenseful plot, and brilliant prose will come easy to most readers, even if they haven't completely prepared for Moby Dick by reading all the Greek legends, Shakespeare's plays, or the entirety of the Bible and Hindu Vedas. In this video, I'll share some tips on approaching it, as well as my thoughts on the story with minimal spoilers. Despite the book's unusual structure, the plot itself isn't hard to follow. As Ishmael wanders throughout town in search of work, his descriptions are so otherworldly and vivid that he sounds manic and slightly disconnected with reality, making his initial meeting with Queequeg that much more bewildering and hilarious. Once the Pequod set sail, much of the book alters between concise and entertaining encyclopedia-like entries and the occasional interactions between the crew. The ending chapters are suddenly chaotic and disorienting, almost mirroring the rushed pursuit and deadly fight with a deadly whale vulnerable to harpoons and spears, but still very much in his own element. The plot is simple enough, yet manages to feel like a commentary on dozens of themes at the same time. Is the racially diverse crew sailing towards their doom a premonition for the looming American Civil War? The white whale Moby Dick seems to possess supernatural abilities, as if he's God incarnate, while his obsessed nemesis, Captain Ahab, considers him the devil himself. Yet it's easily apparent that Ahab is the most blindly evil character in the entire plot. Does the book simply deal with the folly of losing one's mind and soul over revenge, or is it a commentary on industrial age capitalism, nature, environmentalism, or slavery? Trying to wrap your head around precisely what Herman Melville was getting at is part of what makes Moby Dick so amazing. While the book is highly unusual in how often it goes on tangents, it's composed of 135 chapters and an epilogue, which are most often less than 10 pages. While the subject matter and even the style of writing often shifts, it's done so in a highly structured way, and you can easily focus on taking things one chapter at a time. You can almost think of it as playing Zelda Breath of the Wild, where you have over 100 shrines, which often function as technical but enjoyable tangents, which slightly advance the main quest. I was blown away to discover that the complete edition of Breath of the Wild contains precisely 136 shrines, almost certainly paying homage to Moby Dick's 135 chapters and epilogue. The series already has a deeply established connection to whales after all. Many of the book's chapters indeed read like an encyclopedia of the whaling industry and cetology, the study of whales, but are full of wit and highly entertaining, even if they feel disconnected from the main plot. I highly recommend preparing for these chapters by first reading the nonfiction title In the Heart of the Sea, The Tragedy of the Whale Ship Essex by Nathaniel Philbrick, who wrote the foreword to the beautiful Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. Even Moby Dick's outdated science is fascinating in its own right, as Ishmael speculates on how whales were able to make sense of what was in front of them a good 90 years before concrete knowledge of echolocation was established. Despite the book being written a decade prior to the US Civil War and centering around a nearly abolished industry, much of the book feels timeless and could have believably been published in recent years. Even with the African American characters being used primarily for comedic relief, the book embraces internationalism and even features many hilarious but not disparaging homosexual undertones that seem remarkable for a book from 1851. Without spoiling anything, finally arriving at the epilogue, which shows the extent of the deep friendship between Ishmael and Queequeg, which almost had to include some sort of divine intervention, absolutely stunned me. Again, while I can't say Moby Dick is or will be the best book I've ever read, it reads like something entirely different from everything else. Definitely give it a chance. This book's many technical encyclopedic chapters may simply be too out of place and overwhelming for many readers, but the opening is great fun and surprisingly hilarious. After becoming better acquainted with the many classics this book alludes to, I'll definitely be reading Moby Dick again. This book is more than just a fun and strangely written story. You might just be challenged to reevaluate reality itself and come out better for it. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back with another soon. Bye.